I'm in the process of moving to a new market, so I did a full analysis if real estate wholesaling actually makes sense in this specific North Carolina real estate market. I'm going to walk you through today, step-by-step process, how I determine if this market is worth it. From analyzing the economic situation to analyzing what people are buying at. Are there flippers? Are there wholesalers? What's going on in that market? All of that I'm going to show you in this exact video and compare it to my current market down here in the Tampa Bay area. But before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel and comment down below what market are you in and are you looking to expand into a new market? So first of all, before you spend any of your money in marketing and doing any kind of things, you need to figure it out if this market is a growing market. Is there job growth? Is there real estate prices growth? Like, are there people actually flipping homes, or is it like so bad, maybe regulations are so bad or whatever it is, and there's not too much progress going on? You want to also understand what's the population growth, because the more people moving into the area, the more housing you need. Therefore, obviously, flippers are interested in flipping more homes, or builders are interested in building more homes. And what we're going to use for that is actually ChatGPT. So personally, when I was researching Greensboro, Triad area, North Carolina market. So I'm going to start there and we're going to figure it out if this market is good. And I'm going to show you the things that I saw that I decided that, hey, this is worth checking out. All right, so in the way that I ask this question to ChatGPT, I say, I'm a real estate investor and wholesaler. I'm checking on Greensboro, North Carolina, Triad, North Carolina market to invest in. Can you tell me all the market statistics and job growth? What companies are opening out there? Are there investors there? Is it investor friendly? What our growth projects are for this area? Right, so it's going to tell me that it's a dynamic housing market. It tells me median price, which is 278, which is crazy because median price where I'm at right now is 440,000, which is crazy. But obviously that's affordable, much more affordable for people. The market is somewhat competitive, but it's not super competitive. I mean, 58 days and two offers is not too much. It's still good enough that, hey, there's movement in the market, but you can still get deals. That's why I like it. And inventory levels, they indicate a slight uptick, which is not too concerning. Obviously things change, but especially with the elections last year, that kind of slowed things down for everyone. But overall, this seems to be normal. There have been 430 million investments, which created jobs, 500 jobs. There's several big companies. This is one of the things that I look at when it comes to like investing, especially if I'm considering investing there long term, not just a wholesaler, but if I'm looking to buy multifamily homes in the area, whatever. I'm actually going to look at jobs. And jobs are one of the most important things you're going to look at, because is there job growth? There's population growth, right? And there's economic growth in the area. Jobs are literally the most important factor, personally, what I believe. And then from there, everything else kind of spreads. Unemployment rate is stable. Investor presence, yeah, there's local and out-of-state investors. I wouldn't say that this particular area is crazy when it comes to out-of-state investors. Some North Carolina areas are like Charlotte and Raleigh, but there still are some for sure. And I'm going to be one of them. With a median listing price of 280,000, they sell relatively quickly, which is fine. Here are also things that I'm really looking for. So Toyota is investing $1.3 billion into Greensboro, and they are looking to create about 5,000 jobs, which is insane for the area. That's like Greensboro, I think, is like 250,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. And that's another thing that you want to look at, is that you don't want too small of a city, but you also don't want too big of a city. I mean, you can do it in both, but I personally enjoy myself somewhere in the middle there. 250 to 500,000 is kind of my sweet spot, because I do believe that there is enough room to grow, and it's still, still people are buying and investing, etc. So there's infrastructure projects so they're gonna create something more in the area, but this can go further down. Like we can like spend more time. And what I did is, actually I did this for like 2-3 months to every area that I thought about. I thought about Nashville. I thought about Austin, Texas. I thought about like some cities even in Alabama, which is northern Alabama. I was surprised to see how much progression there is. I saw some cities in Georgia. I wanted to get out of Florida, so I was not looking at Florida. Saw some cities in South Carolina that I actually really like. And then I actually ended up liking Charlotte a lot, but it's so competitive that I realized that I'm not really changing much if I'm going from St. Pete, Florida, or Tampa, Florida to Charlotte, Florida. So we're kind of switching it up a little bit, and Greensboro seems to be a good option. Charlotte is a super nice city to live in, though. I really did enjoy it. I would definitely consider moving there eventually. So the next thing you have to look at when you're doing this is actually look at the local growth when it comes to investors. Are there investors there, right? I mean, ChatGPT says, yes, there's investors, but are there investors there? And that's another thing that I want to look at. So I'm going to use two tools. I'm going to use PropStream and I'm going to use Zillow in order to see how many fix and flip buyers or investors there's out there. And also, because it's an area that has three cities, I can see which area does more flips or whatnot than the other. So let's take a look at that right now. I'm going to start with Zillow because Zillow actually shows active remodel properties. Then I'm going to go to PropStream and we're going to do like, hey, like flipper. So um, first, let's think about, okay, so first of all, what I did is that I chose homes for sale and I also chose remodeled, right? And unfortunately, it's not going to give you like 100% information because some people say remodeled kitchen, right? So, but the rest of the home is not a flip. But a lot of times people will say like a fully remodeled property. So you kind of have to be a little bit cautious about the Zillow data, but it will still give you a general idea of what's going on. So let's first, let's draw around Winston-Salem, right? And I'm curious to see how many flips or remodel properties on the market. 143. Okay. Now let's go ahead and do that right here. How many remodeled homes are in the market in Greensboro? 98, so less. And consider this, Greensboro is a bigger city comparing to Winston-Salem. So you have something that's a bigger city and has less remodels. Okay, well, and then it seems like Winston-Salem is the place to flip. Okay, but at least a lot of flippers are flipping there. And now let's take a look at High Point, which is the third city in this triad area. High Point has 35. So one thing I wanted to show you guys, as you can see here, population of High Point, North Carolina is 114,000 people. Population, 116,000. Population of Greensboro, 299. So 300,000. Winston-Salem is 250,000. Again, like I mentioned, Winston-Salem is a smaller city. It has a lot more flips, right? So we're going to take a look at this and kind of run the numbers. I like to use my calculator for this because it kind of gives me a percentage. So right here, you see that there's 35 remodel properties for sale right now in High Point, North Carolina, which is 115,000, right? So you have 33. So you kind of have, we're gonna leave that there just so we know. Then we have 250,000 people in Winston-Salem, and you got 111. Okay. And then we have Greensboro, which is 300,000 people. Based on this, what I can tell you is that the lower the number, the better. So right now you can see that out of 20 to 250,000 properties in Greensboro and Winston-Salem, 111 are being flipped or are flipped and sold on the market. So it's obviously more properties that are being flipped in that area. High Point has the least and Greensboro has the middle, right? So that is really cool because that gives me like a general idea of where people are flipping based on Zillow data. Now let's do the same thing in PropStream. If you just go to PropStream and you type Winston-Salem, you have 283 flippers. And the way that PropStream does it is that if somebody recently bought the property and they're selling it right now for a big profit, or they sold for a big profit, so they consider that flippers. So it's a good data, and I believe its data is a little better than Zillow, but there's some points of this data that is probably misses. That's why I use both. I use Zillow and PropStream. So now let's look at Greensboro. So we have 283 flippers in Winston-Salem. We have 303 flippers in Greensboro, which is a little more by 20 more, but you also have to recognize how bigger the city is. And then High Point, North Carolina, has 148. So this is really interesting if you think about it. So High Point is almost 3 times as small as Greensboro, but has 148 flippers based on PropStream data. So it has twice as less flippers, however, 3 times as less population. Seems like High Point, North Carolina has more flippers. And the reason why Zillow data might be a little bit different from PropStream data is because Zillow data shows you active listings. I don't know how many sold listings there are out there, right? So I didn't want to look at it because it just becomes too much. And so I think that's just kind of interesting. That gives you an idea. From what I see is that I think that Winston-Salem is probably number one when it comes to flips. High Point and Greensboro are kind of both have their own maybe pockets that there are people wholesaling, or flipping. But from what I think, and personally, and I'll tell you a little bit later why I made this decision, I think High Point is where the most opportunity is. And I'll show you guys a little bit later why. But at the moment, I have data. Okay, well, there's flips going on here and there. Let's just compare it to St. Petersburg, Florida. So St. Petersburg, Florida has 1,522 flippers. Everyone in their mama is flipping a house. So that is, you don't want to see this much, personally. I think whenever you see this much, there is just too much going on, right? I don't love it. I don't love to see it. And it could be also, let's just look at Zillow. Let's just see what Zillow would do for St. Petersburg, Florida. Currently on the market, we have 1,084 properties that have a work remodeled, and that is insane. I'm sorry, but population of Winston-Salem was 250,000, so very, very similar. And we're looking at numbers, and just the numbers are crazy, right? You have 1,000 properties for sale that are remodeled in St. Petersburg, but you only have what, like 100 in Winston-Salem? So yeah, I mean, that tells you a lot about the economic situation and the real estate situation. So after I did research to see if there's economic growth and if there's flippers in the area, the next step I did is actually I decided to run a buyer's list. So what I did is that I actually pulled a buyer's list directly from PropShoe. So I went to, let's say Winston-Salem, North Carolina area. I think I did Greensboro if I'm not mistaken, but if you wanted to Winston-Salem, then you would pull the flipper list, and I wanted to talk to them to see if they are buying. And the response rates we got was really high. So what I did is actually I used Smarter Contact in order to contact these leads. And we were able to contact 600 people, 132 replied, which is 13.8% response rate. And out of that, we got 13 buyers. So I have 13 leads right here, which is pretty cool. I think that 13 leads out of, whatever there is, like 250 people, whatever, how many people there was, it's good. It's not like I didn't like run this campaign over and over again. If I wanted to exhaust this campaign, I probably would run it like 2 or 3 times, and I would be able to get more buyers. But this is how you build a buyers list, right? You get contacting people, you ask them questions. You ask them like, hey, what part are you buying, and what are the prices you're buying at? If somebody's more open with you, I would even ask like, what percentage are you buying in? Like, are you buying at 70% of ARV? Are you buying at 75? And most of people said they're buying about 70%. And that makes perfect sense. It's a less competitive area than comparing to like, down here in Florida, where people are willing to pay 75, 78 sometimes, some very rarely, but they will. And comparing to that, I make sense why people do 70% out there. So this actually gave me a really good idea of what buyers are buying and where they're buying and what percentage are they buying, what calculations they're using. I actually even got a hold of a couple of builders which threw out this list, because some flippers can be builders as well. And they told me the lots they're buying and the prices they're buying and what percentage of the ARV they're willing to buy for the lot. So that was really, really helpful. I actually skip traced this list using Skip Matrix. If you guys do want to check out Skip Matrix, the link is going to be down below. Actually, the link to all these software is going to be down in the pinned comment below. There's a discount for Skip Matrix. There's a discount for Smarter Contact. Check out the pinned comment and get your discount. So next step we did is fly to North Carolina in order to attend a local RIA. And local RIAs are really good a resource of information for you. You can see how busy they are, how many people they are. You can talk to people on the ground, boots on the ground, to understand what goes on. I know not everyone can do this, and I totally understand that. But if you have the opportunity, I totally would, because not only you get to talk to local people that are doing business in the area, you also get to actually see the area yourself. You get to see where progress is going. Like, are you willing to invest in that area, right? Personally, for us, we're actually moving to that area. So we wanted to see where we want to move. Do we like this area? Is there a downtown area? Is there things to do? Whatever it is. So we wanted to see all of that. I think going to a local RIA is super useful, especially if you're looking to invest a lot of money in the area. If it's like your backyard, right? It's space that you live in, like city you live in, or county you live in, of course you have to go to a local RIA to understand what local people are doing. So I 100% agree with that idea. You got to talk to local agents and investors. When we flew out there, we got to learn like what people are looking for in the area, right? I mean, some people are still buying houses for $30,000 to $40,000, which is so mind blowing to me, because in St. Petersburg, Florida, you cannot buy a vacant lot for less than 70. So like what? So but there's just some of the things that obviously come with the area. Obviously, their ARVs are lower than St. Petersburg, but also you can do a lot more projects. It's interesting. I really do like that perspective of it. So yes, it's not a necessary thing that to do, but if you can afford and you have the time, I 100% suggest doing that. So here you actually see the single family list that we ran, which was not even like a super list that I love to run because it is super competitive. It's a per option vacant list, very, very utilized list by a lot of wholesalers. So personally, as you can see here, we got 15.8% response rate, and we got 4 leads out of 1,400 people. Again, that's about average conversion rate from what I see normally. Then we ran multiple different campaigns, obviously to different counties, different, all of that. So we wanted just to understand what's going on and what's happening in the area. And from what we saw is that land is super competitive in that area, but when it comes to houses, it's not bad. It's not as competitive. And land could be competitive because we haven't figured out like the way to approach it. Maybe we need to cold call them. Maybe I need to send them mailers, whatever it is, right? You can always get deals. You just need to figure out the way to get a hold of people in that area. Some people are more prone to like phone calls. Some people are more enjoy texting or mailers, whatever. So cool, we tested out different things, so now I know it works in North Carolina, right? In that area that I'm looking for. Obviously, it works. I mean, of course. So obviously, step number 6 is reviewing KPI. So I'm gonna compare of like, hey, how many leads per how many this we got, all of that stuff. I actually have a separate spreadsheet that I created to see like, hey, like we're getting per this many text messages we send, this amount of replies we get, and this amount of conversions we get per lead. And I look at percentages, I understand what works. Obviously, you want to make sure the profits are big enough. And this is one of the things that I'm a little concerned about the area because the houses are so much cheaper than what are here. Will my profits be lower? And the answer is maybe and probably. However, maybe the volume will be bigger and maybe I could also flip a lot more with the funds that I have because my funds will take me further. Right. So that's kind of the thought process that I'm having. And personally, I'm going to be investing in multifamilies in the area, which I'm really excited to do so. Before we wrap up, I'm going to give you one more bonus. And the bonus is that talk to the acquisition or disposition companies in the area. So what I did is actually I've been working with New Western disposition company here in Florida for a long time since pretty much I started. One of my first deal was with them. They sold my deal. So what I did is actually I called and I emailed the disposition company New Western in that area, and I said, "Hey, I'm a wholesaler. I've been doing this for whatever years. I'm also an investor, so also a buyer. But I'm curious because I'm moving in this area and I would like to connect with someone that we can do business together." And then you give them their information, whatever it is. They connect you with someone that's going to be your agent, and then you pick their brain. You're like, "Hey, so what are people are buying at? What areas do you see the most buying at? Where people buying the land? Where people are buying the houses? Do you need it at in order for you to sell it?" So you pick their brain, you understand, and you're like, hey, okay, so is this area more competitive than this area? So you ask these questions because even though you did your research, these people are also boots on the ground. And I'll tell you, they probably are seeing like 10 to 15 deals a day. And you want to make sure that whatever they tell you, you really take it serious. So in my opinion, checking out New Western is super useful. There's other disposition companies you can also check out, but at least New Western is big enough that you know for sure with the data they're getting, they can share with you. And if they say, hey, buyers are buying 75%, I would aim always for 70, just because what their buyers are buying, it may not be always what your buyers will be buying, because the way that they structure their deals makes people pay a little more sometimes. All the resources that I used in this video are in the pinned comment down below. 7-day free trial for PropStream. If you use the link down below for Smarter Contact and use the code Ralph, you actually get $200 off your subscription. If you want to check out Skip Major for skip tracing, if you use the code Ralph, you actually can get 1 cent off each skip tracing that you do. So that actually lowers your cost quite a lot, and that promo code never expires. Hopefully this information really helped you guys to determine what market do you want to do real estate wholesaling in. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions about this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.